this was like, whoa, groundbreaking at that point in time. But it definitely was giving me Purple Rain. It definitely was giving me Beyonce's visual album, but like the predecessor to that. Hey y'all, welcome to Tripping with Amadi. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about A Hard Day's Night. Specifically, this is going to be part of my new movie series on my channel. I am going to be watching the top 100 best films of all time. I did not make this list. Variety has made this list, so I am simply going by their list and seeing if they are really the best movies of all time. It's going to be in no particular order. I'm definitely going to have my notes, so just bear with me. And we are going to go through these films, so come along on this journey with me. Today's movie is A Hard Day's Night. All right, so before I get into the review, I'm going to give you my 1-minute synopsis. So we get introduced to this group called the Beatles, and everybody knows the Beatles, especially the women who are just chasing them down. They get onto the train and they get introduced to Paul's grandfather, and Paul's grandfather, he's a big weirdo. And anyway, we basically see throughout the film of them doing weird little things, hijinks, trying to get to the actual place that they need to go, and where they need to go to is this big live performance with a live audience, and also going to be directed and filmed as well. The director doesn't really like them. He thinks they're punks, he thinks they're moderns, he thinks they're rockers, he thinks they're all these types of things. There's a little meta commentary in there about pop culture, about music in today, and just the music industry. And basically there's a lot of singing, there's a lot of music videos, or like whatever you would call a music video in like the mid 1960s, and that's the end of the movie. So I think I got it done under 1 minute. So the themes of the movie, the first one is going to be fandom. So a lot of this film has no real plot. Actually, the purpose of the film was essentially trying to bolster and be promotion for an album, which was called A Hard Day's Night. So there was not a real plot. It was basically them having to go to this performance, and the director was like really stressed out that they couldn't be like good artists and just stay there and stay put. They were constantly like searching for them. But I think one of the main themes that I gleaned from it was fandom, because literally in the beginning of the movie you see 3 out of the 4 Beatles running away from a large group of young teens, like screaming and all that stuff, and they were like going in and out of cars to get to this train to run away to get to their next gig. And then you see fandom sprinkle itself throughout the film, whether they're interacting with individuals who know that there are the Beatles or who want to engage with them because they are a popular group. You see a scene where there's like a whole lot of reporters, and therefore magazines, basically fan magazines and all of those things. So that's a lot of what you see in the film, their interaction with the culture of stardom. And I think that's another theme. So one of the other themes that I have is the music industry. I did think it was interesting, like the meta commentary of the music industry and like their thought processes about pop culture and what's hip and what's not. Like there was a scene where like George accidentally is in a meeting with a top exec, and he was like, "You're young, you look like you know what's going on." He's like, "Tell me what's hip and tell me what's not hip," and they go back and forth of what is hip and what is not hip. And basically the idea is the executive is trying to push agendas and try to push ideas on to George and onto the mainstream masses that will consume a product, whether it's like a hat or a new pair of jeans. Like they are the determinant of hip. So I thought that was like really interesting, like that meta commentary. But like I said, it's not a lot of plot, it's not a lot of depthness. So those are the 2 things that I got in terms of themes. So let's get into my likes. So in terms of likes, I love me some Ringo Starr. I love an outcast. I love someone who's an underdog, and they were really coming for Ringo. Like, I didn't really appreciate it, but I loved him as a character. He was truly a star. He was just being great, being himself. Like, he was giving us acting ability when he was walking across the river. Like, I see you, Ringo. Another thing is like the glimpse in the landscapes of England. I think that when they did like a couple B-rolls, a couple shots of that, I thought that was like really interesting. So that was like nice to see. Another thing was the angles and the transitions that they did within like the videos or the music videos, because like I said, this is like essentially like a big long music video, so a lot of the stuff doesn't really make sense as a whole, but like if you like segment it, like okay, sure. But I think they used interesting angles when they were doing the specific video part, not in the whole thing, but the music video part. The next thing I think like that was interesting is like kind of like a backstage view or glimpse of what artists may have to deal with, like with fans and with fans and with journalists and with companies and directors and all of those things. So that was kind of interesting. Like, this is probably their perspective of how they viewed stardom and the life that they were currently living. I recently watched again Beyond the Lights, and I thought, so like that's the thing that kind of like pops into my head, like the day-to-day of a superstar or a person on the rise to stardom, because they were famous by that time, but they weren't like the exalted Beatles that we view them today. Like, they're iconic now. Back then they were just very, very popular. So I do think that it's a difference, right? So it was interesting to like see how they viewed their stardom and how they viewed going through the day-to-day. Another thing that I liked was like the meta commentary about the music industry and about being famous and about what's hip. So that was kind of cute. And the last thing that I would say in terms of likes, it was definitely a bop of the title song, like another hard day's night and I've been working. I love a pop hit. So that was really cute, like them doing that song. It was like very infectious, like it stayed in my head like after I watched the film. So yeah, now let's get into dislike. I did not like that there was no storyline. It was like really, I'm not gonna say no storyline because obviously they used words, but there was no form of real like 3-act structure. It was like, where were we going? What were we doing? How are we getting there? Like, I was like, what am I watching? I'm watching them do some weird stuff and then sing a song, do some more with weird stuff, then sing a song. Like, I was just like, what's going on? What's happening? I don't know. I truly don't know. The next thing is the granddad was truly, truly annoying for me. Like, truly, truly annoying. Like, I get that his purpose was to be the foil, and I get that he was supposed to be that comic relief at times too, and we're gonna get to the comedy part. But he was annoying. He was very, very annoying. I could not stand him. He stressed me out. Like, we were doing a lot. Granddad needed to stop. Like, cut it out. Because he was messing up the business too. He was messing up their bag. Also, it wasn't funny to me. Like, I don't know if it's because I don't get British humor. I don't know if it was just a sign of the times. But just the idea of like the little hijinks that they do really was not for me. It wasn't for me. Like, the film wasn't for me just in general, but it wasn't funny. Like, it wasn't funny. Like, the best they got out of me was a you got one. Like, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. Like, the whole beginning when they were in the train and they were like having little quips like back and forth. I was just like, this is coming off as very like childish, immature, and annoying, more than look at the Beatles. Look at them being cute. It was not. Yeah, and like I put on my notes hijinks. It's just like the hijinks were like really annoying. Like it's just like, I feel like at this point in time we would recognize that this, because Ringo got almost locked up, like I feel like we would recognize that this is Ringo's star and that he's part of the Beatles and you shouldn't arrest him. And like even the idea of them trying to arrest him was like weird. It's just like there was no real premise, there was no real purpose for that, so I didn't quite get it. Yes. So the first one is that during the taping of them like running around, George stumbled and fell over Ringo when they were like running in the initial scene. So I thought that was a cool fun fact. Another one was Paul McCartney and John Lennon both battled over who would do the title track of A Hard Day's Night, and John Lennon won out. And like I said, I kept on kind of talking about this fun fact, but the United Artists, which was the production underneath this, the production who produced this film, was just trying to find a loophole to like have a soundtrack album be sold. So they're like, all right, let's just do a video. Like they weren't expecting to get paid crazy and a lot for this. They weren't expecting for people to come show. They just wanted to produce more music through the soundtrack avenue versus a regular album. So that's why majority of the movie, it's just them singing the song. And the last one is, before it was called A Hard Day's Night. It's really a tongue twister when you think about it. It was gonna be called either The Beatles or Beatlemania, but it got changed because Ringo, who is the star, decided, like randomly came in one day and he was like, another hard day's night, you know? He was tired and they were like, ding, we can call it that. So that's how they got their title. So final thoughts. It was mid. It didn't give me what was supposed to be giving, but I definitely will acknowledge that this was one of the first of its times. Like I said, the purpose of it was not to be groundbreaking, was not supposed to be Oscar award winning, but rather it was supposed to sell music and merchandise. Like they were doing this so the soundtrack would sell. So I understood that after I watched it, because I did my little 2-minute Google search, but before that I didn't know like what the purpose of it was. But once again, it was on Variety's 100 best films of all time, but I think it was because of just the idea of filming you doing your music, kind of like a long music video, because this was like in the mid 60s, to just put that landscape in there. So this was like, whoa, groundbreaking at that point in time. But it definitely was giving me Purple Rain. It definitely was giving me Beyonce visual album, but like the predecessor to that. It's funny because it was interesting to see the Beatles in this particular era of their lives, because I got introduced to the Beatles in their like more hippie stage. So like Come Together and all of those songs, like or Here Comes the Sun, like those are the songs that I'm more familiar with, when they started to go away from just a cover band covering black music, and then kind of coming into their own and leaning into their I'm about to say lyricism, they're not rappers, leaning into more of their songwriting ability. So that's the way that I got introduced to the Beatles and had learned about the Beatles versus their little cute little bowl cut, you know, matching hairdo kind of vibe. Like, I knew of that, and I knew of like British Mania and stuff like that, and Beatlemania, but it was interesting to see them in that particular era of their music history. Yeah, but overall, I'm good. I would not watch it again. I can say I have watched it. I have done the things, but so hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. There are definitely going to be more to come. If there is any particular movie that you want me to pick out of the list and do a review first, let me know. I can definitely reprioritize that and make that higher on my list. The next video that's coming out is going to be about In the Mood for Love. A 2000s movie, so if you're interested in that, that will be coming up soon, and stay on this journey with me as I go through 100 films of all times, or as they say, we'll see if I think that they're awesome or not. And if you like any of these videos, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you comment and make sure you peruse around my channel a little bit. We're going to be doing some reconstruction, so there's going to be some interesting things going on. And thank you for stopping by.